Welcome to Land to House. I'm Seth. For 8 years now, I have been working with the hydraulic ram pump to take water from the creek up to some storage tanks. I water my garden with that and also do a lot of ram pump testing. Well, in 2021, it is time to get this system up and running again. Every other week, it seems like it drops down into the 30s again, but I think we are out of the freeze so I can get this going again. Speaking of that, I am really bad at winterizing my system. I haven't done it in 8 years. So let's step down here to the creek, take a look at the ram pump and see if anything has busted over this past winter. This is the pump itself. It looks like it is pretty well covered in leaves, but that's no big deal. Whew, that's some cold water. I got up to about 45 today, so it's a bit chilly. Now, I'll show you what a ram pump looks like here in a bit. This one is covered up with a bunch of junk, so I can't really show you what this one looks like. One of the things that saves my pump from dying every year is that I leave the delivery valve open and water passes through here, and one of my hose clamps is not on the pipe, and so it breaks free and drains the system for me. And it happened again this year. So this right here is supposed to be connected to that, but it's not. So I think that's what saves me from having busted pipes throughout the winter time. But as you can see, there's no water getting to the pump, which means something may be busted on the drive pipe or further up. But for the time being, this all looks acceptable. We can probably go ahead and drain out the tank here. Let's see if it'll do it. Yeah. Maybe. Yep, I see some bubbles in there. We'll let that do its thing for a bit. Come with me up here. So the drive pipe is connected to this old flume, which really locks it down tight. Oh, here's the nettle forest. That's always fun to walk through. So far, the drive pipe is intact. Let's see what we got up here. So this bucket is what I like to refer to as the filter bucket. It will essentially help reduce the sediment and silt, but also provides an air-free source to the pump. So air that gets into this drive line will stop the pump, and that's what this bucket is mostly doing. So I'm already seeing a lot of silt in there, but also, yeah, my supply line, which brings water from the intake up here, has come loose, so we'll have to reattach that. Let's continue following the supply line up to the intake filter. We've had some pretty decent floods. This creek gets up to about 400 gallons a minute from the 50 or so that it is right now. This tree fell maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm glad I wasn't standing under it. Okay, so you can't tell, but this little piece of PVC right there is the intake screen. So I've got a shovel. We will dig all that out and get water flowing. So let's do that first. I'm gonna start scooping some of this sediment out of here. Probably gonna go faster if I remove a few of these rocks. I can already see bubbles where water is getting pulled into that pipe. This is basically two 3-inch pipes with window screen around them, and that lets water go into the pipe and down this 1-inch poly pipe. So let's go follow that back down to the bucket and see if we have water. Down here at the bucket, I've got this pipe And I can see there's some flow, but not enough. So what we can do is lift this up for a bit and water will fill the pipe, and then we can set it down quickly and it will help pull that water out quicker. Basically there's an airlock and we have to get rid of that airlock. So if you pick the pipe up, hold it for a second, it lets the water fill up, and then drop it, and it helps pull that air out. I'm also seeing discolored water, so that means we've got to let some of that silt out of there too. So see how it's not quite a full flow? So you pick it up, let it fill with water for a second, and then drop it. And that will get us going here in just a bit. So let's let that flow and we will see the full pipe here in just a minute. Okay, that's pretty much a full pipe's worth. There may still be a little air in there, but we're looking pretty good. To get this water into the bucket, I've got this right here. Basically it just angles it down. There we go. There's a lot of leftover silt from last year's ram pump use, and I've just got a drain plug open down here, letting all of that out. So you can see I've got about 3 or 4 inches of silt catchment before it hits the drive pipe intake. My kids would love to stir this soup. Now I have the bucket clean of silt and the outlet is still open. I've just got a regular cap here that I put over the end. And that will fill the bucket up. Once it reaches that drive pipe, the water will start going in there and filling up the ram pump. So as that does its thing, oh, and also when the water reaches this level right here, it will spill over and go into the flume. So that air will just continue to burp out, and that will be all we need for this. Go ahead and put our lid back on with our rock. There we go. Now, let's go down here and see what's happening at the ram pump. Almost all the air has been pulled out of the drive pipe, which means it's time to close this tank valve here. Okay, and now we can push down the waste valve, which has closed. And that will basically put pressure in here. So let me go ahead and close the delivery valve going up the hill. It won't take but a few cycles for the water to raise up into this tank, and it will start cycling on its own. There you go, pretty quick. So a lot of pressure is building up in this tank. When I open this delivery, it's going to shoot the water out the delivery pipe and the pump will stop. The reason that happened is because our delivery pipe is disconnected up here and there's not enough pressure pushing back down on the pump to keep it going. So let's go connect that real quick. There may be more than one place where this has happened. We'll have to walk the line here in a bit and see, but for the meantime, I'm just going to push this together. Okay, I'm going to open the delivery pipe up again. Water is going to go from the drive pipe through the delivery pipe, passing the pump, and it's going to fill the delivery all the way up until it matches the source water. So after that's been done, I'm going to take a stick and start pushing the valve to let it cycle water through. Now it's going to take a little while to do this because the water is being pushed up the delivery pipe until a point that it has enough back pressure on the pump to start operating on its own. As I'm cycling this valve, it's probably a good time to mention that I've worked with these pumps now for about 8 years, and I have them for sale on the landahouse.com website, also on eBay and Amazon, linked in the description down below. So if you need to water your garden or livestock, you may want to check these pumps out. They are quite handy. I get a lot of questions saying, in the past you used a brass valve and then you swapped over to these stainless steel valves. and now you're back to brass. Why is that? The stainless steel valves last a lot longer, but the problem is they're a lot heavier. And so, especially for the 1/2 inch pump, you had to tilt the valve to the side if you had 2, 3, or 4 feet of head pressure. If you had more than that, it was enough to get the valve running. We're almost there. So I reduced back down to the brass valves, which you can still get 2 or 3 years out of, and they work on as little as 2 feet of head pressure. So much better to have a much wider range of head pressures than these old heavy valves. All right, so that right there, if no debris gets into the system and no air gets into the system, will run 24/7 all the time until you stop it. So let's see how far this delivery is going up the hill. From this distance, you can tell why they call it a ram pump. The ram pump is right in here, and the delivery pipe circles around and is this 3/4 inch pipe here. Comes around, goes under my little bridge, goes under a culvert, which needs to be dug out right here, goes up under the road to this spot right over here, and then heads up the hill here. And we're gonna go up past the cars, up on that hill up there. So the pipe continues along the road here in the ditch. Now, one thing that did not fare well over the winter time is this connection here. So basically, we've got, look, ram pump has already made it up to this point here. So there's our water going up. We got to find this connection right here and reconnect that. But this right here is what we need to fix. So basically the water snapped that off in the winter time. I'm not even sure where it went. It probably flew off pretty good. And there's also another spot over here in the garden that has busted. I've not been up to the tanks since last year, so we'll have to see if everything is still functioning up there. Okay, I brought a wrench, so hopefully we can get this back up and running. These things are known for loosening up over the winter time. Delivery pipe goes under this culvert, which goes up under our little driveway here to the other side. You'll see there are now 2 lines. One is going back down the hill and one's going up the hill. Now, one thing that's kind of fun is you can tap on the line. Empty, empty. So in just a second, when the water gets up here, we'll be able to hear that the water is at this point. Now the water's reached this point, so still empty, full. And you can actually walk up along this and do that same thing to find out where the water has made it to. So there seems to be water right here. It's right around here is where it's gotten to. So I'll meet you up here at the tanks and we will wait for the water. The weight of the water in this delivery pipe is pretty heavy, and so I've installed this board with some plumber's strap and a fence post right there, and that prevents the whole thing from sliding back down the hill. We're still empty at this point. So here are my water storage tower tanks. So basically I have constructed this little makeshift tower. Not 100% necessary, but it gets things up a little bit higher. But it has worked out well. So each of these is 55 gallons. So I've got a little over 150 gallons here. Now, what freaks out a lot of people is that the line comes in, goes around right there, and then feeds from the bottom. And a lot of people think there's no way you can fill a storage tank from the bottom. So here's the deal. The size of the delivery pipe doesn't matter. You could be lifting this same water up with a 4-inch pipe or a 1/2-inch pipe. It doesn't matter. The gravity or pressure down on any, I guess, cross section of that water is the same, whether it's a big body of water or a little body of water. So that being the case, whenever this little pipe comes up and starts filling these tanks, any point in this is going to be the same. So let's say I took this pipe and brought it up into the top. It would be the same pressure getting up to the top as it is here at the bottom. The difference is the time it takes to fill. So if I'm filling from right here on up, this is the pressure that's pushing down as it fills. If I'm filling from the top, it has to push down from the top the whole time. So it's just having to push that much higher before it spills on the top. That being said, it can be easier to go from the top because if your source is from the bottom, you have to have a valve. Otherwise, it will basically drain back down if the system stops. So I've got the valve here. It's only in one direction. So as soon as the water starts filling this, it can't go back down the delivery pipe, only this line here. Anyway, a lot to be said. You can fill from the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter. Let's see how far up we are here. Not there yet. Yep, we're here. Oops, my tools. Not there. There. All right, we're close. See if I can open this old valve here. A little bit of junk in there. A product called Unisil is what I use to connect all of these tanks. It's a little rubber grommet and it makes the installation easy because you don't have to access the inside of the tank. You can just reach right there and push that in. Oh, this is the one we want. All right, we're right there. Not yet. All right, we're right around here. I open this just so you can see that the water does come out of there. Aha! We have water. So my setup has 7 feet of head pressure and 35 foot of lift. Typically the ram pump is going to work on a 1:7 ratio. So for every 1 foot of fall into the pump, you can expect 7 lift out. And you always want to bring your final tanks a little bit below that max number so that you have flow rate at the top. Now for a secret, if you use PVC for your drive pipe instead of the black roll pipe, you can get a better ratio. It's closer to 1:8. So keep that in mind whenever you do your own install. So that seems to be clearing up a bit. If I close this off, it'll only take a moment for that little piece there to fill and it'll start going back down the hill. Now of course those pieces are busted down there, so we'll have to fix those. I'll have to go buy those parts to get that done. But we can at least go see the water rolling back down the hill. So once again, here's one of the places we have to fix, but you'll notice that a line comes off lower than that point and goes underground here. And that is what I use to water the garden. So let's go over here, and that pipe is maybe 4 or 5 inches under the ground here. You can't see it anymore where it's been. And this is where it's going right here. So let's step inside real quick. Obviously, I'm not a very good gardener, but maybe one day. So this right here is probably filling up. I had this filter on here and I had just a simple, I guess it was a 90 right there. So we'll have to replace that. Looks like, oh, I see the water coming out now. Check it out. This is busted down here. And so it's just simply dripping out and going on down. So that's the water from the ram pump. So there's a line that goes here underground over to a really cool sprinkler called a wobbler. And the water shoots up and hits this little jet right in here. And it wobbles, like, and it can spray water this entire garden area here. And it waters everything quite well. Yeah, pressure's really picking up now. Whenever those tanks are full at the top and I have 150 gallons of water, it will put lots of pressure at this little sprinkler and it will water everything for several hours. Here's an example of an old ram pump I've got, except it's missing a union that I typically put on this side that would look kind of like that. So how does a ram pump work? You've got a drive pipe side, which is right here, and that's where your pipe is coming down the creek. It needs to have water that's flowing and falling. The fall is called head pressure, and it's very important to the pump's operation. So the water falls down into the pump and causes this to snap closed. The reason it does that is because water tries to find level. And so since you've got water coming downhill, it comes out here and tries to go up there to find level. Well, when that valve snaps closed, it's got just a typical swing valve in there, the water tries to go somewhere, and what happens is a pressure wave or water hammer effect is created. It pops closed. The water has got that energy, it's trying to go somewhere, so one wave is sent back up the pipe, another wave is sent into this secondary inline valve. So the water is hammered into here and it tries to go somewhere again. Some of it goes into the pressure tank, creating pressure in that, and some of it is sent up and out. And this is where it goes uphill. So the concept is the pressure that is built inside of this tank that is based on the head pressure slam over here will equalize with what's going out the delivery. So if you have the potential for 30 psi in here, then the weight of the water coming on this pipe here will match that 30. So basically, if you have this slightly less than the pressure in that, then you will pump water uphill. All right, that concludes the ram pump startup of 2021. I think I have 4 or 5 of these videos out now because I start it up every year. If you're not familiar with the channel, I do a lot of ram pump testing, well over 100 videos on different concepts with this kind of pump. So be sure to subscribe, and if you haven't already, like button and leave me a comment down below, and I would like to hear your thoughts on the ram pump. So like I said before, I use this water to do my testing with so I don't have to run the well, and then I also water my little garden over here. But it's great for gardens or livestock or filling up a pond for fish, whatever you need water up a hill for. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.